everybody. I want to welcome you to the Blue Artists LiveCast. It's 12 o'clock sharp on the dot, 12 noon. My name is Pierre Walters, the senior producer here at Blue Artists, and if you tuned in yesterday, you know that we had just a fantastic show planned. We were going to have Kortnye Hurst on, but we had a little bit of a scheduling hiccup, and so we pushed it to today, and guess what? Kortnye is on the show today. I'm really excited because, as you know, this format, doing the live cast on the Google Hangouts, is something that we're doing sort of, it's fresh for us. For a long time, you've been able to catch these live casts solely on iTunes, but many of you have sent me emails, and you've sent Miles emails saying, hey, it'd be cool if we did something on YouTube, and now that Google has this technology, we are doing it on YouTube. I'm really excited about it because just what you can pull off now with Google Hangouts is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so I want to tell you a little about Kortnye and who she is before you actually get a chance to meet her and ask her some questions. So Kortnye is a fabulous PR specialist, okay? Now, that term is kind of broad, but it's only because she does so many things. I had the pleasure of first working with Kortnye several years ago. She worked with me on my very first feature-length film with Blue Artists, and that film was called Greener by the Day. And of course, many of you have seen the trailer and have already commented on that film, and I appreciate the support. But for many of you, the reason why you even heard anything about the film in the first place was because of Kortnye's hard work helping us to raise awareness for the film. So that was several years ago, and she just did a fantastic job. And throughout the years, we've kept in touch. And you know, I've always had a special place in my heart for branding, and I didn't realize until recently just how important branding actually is. And you know, with Blue Artists itself has sort of developed its own brand over the course of several years, which you know, we're working really hard to keep going and make it cool and make it meaningful for a lot of you people, and especially for us. But part of that brand is also recognizing that we all have a personal brand that we sort of bring to the table. We all have a piece of that pie that's really important, and as we sort of all recognize that and realize, hey, we have a responsibility to our personal branding to help sort of shape whatever the brands we're a part of, or our own if we're entrepreneurs, like many of you guys are, filmmakers and artists, that having an identity and realizing how to craft that and how to express that to other people is a huge piece of the puzzle. And Kortnye really specializes in that. In fact, I learned many of my techniques from Kortnye, so I'm happy to be able to introduce you guys to her. Kortnye, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Hey there! Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Okay, so Kortnye, could you give us a little bit of background? Where are you located? Where are you from? And how'd you get into branding?
That is a great question, and I think the answer probably changes every time because there's so many ways to answer it. I was born and raised a pastor's kid, and in my denomination specifically, pastors move every 2 to 4 years on average. Don't ask why; we won't get into it. It's just how it is. And so, as a little kid, I was actually raised as an adult, taught to shake somebody's hand. I teased that I was raised under a boardroom table. And so I got to observe from a very early age adults all over the country, how they act, why they act the way they do, and what happens as a result of that.
Wow. So, okay.
As a PK, pastor's kid for short, you become part of your family's brand. You need to be all things to all people at all times. You live in a glass house. And so with being on a wide platform, trying to appeal to so many people's needs and backgrounds and perspectives, what can you do to bring out the best in the people you're around?
Wow.
So that's the culture and society that I grew up in. It just kind of became a part of me.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so what was your sort of your first foray into taking this on professionally? Like, how'd you get involved professionally with this?
Oh, you know, I was about 5 years old, and no, I'm joking. Mostly joking. You know, I think social media was probably the big hub of it for me. You know, Time magazine, was it the April issue? It talks about the me generation. I don't know how many of you can see it, if it's backwards or not. But the me generation is millennials. They call them Twixters, and that's ages 18 to 29. And the millennials have changed our world. On one hand, we're known as narcissistic brats, constantly taking pictures of ourselves and posting pictures to Instagram and tagging our friends. And wasn't my vacation fabulous?
Oh my God.
Look at me on the pyramids. Look at me with my friends. Don't we have perfect skin? This is what I'm doing tomorrow. Here's a picture of my food. You probably do it too. How many people haven't uploaded a meal and went, "This looks amazing. Don't you wish you were eating it too?"
Kortnye, I see that all the time on Instagram. People are always taking pictures of their food and saying how cool and beautiful the food looks before they eat it. And I'm like, I don't want to see pictures of your food. Stop taking pictures of your food on Instagram, please. So I know what you're talking about.
It's true. It's very much part of the Instagram culture. And you have different cultures with each social network. Mm-hmm. And so it's like millennials have become experts in the different cultures online. You are no longer a person if you are not online.
Mm-hmm. So why is personal branding important in our day and age right now? I mean, you just mentioned social media. You just mentioned how, you know, it's kind of narcissistic, especially if you're coming from a millennial's perspective and you're looking at some of this young generation and everything they got to take a picture of, everything they got to post on Facebook and on Instagram, all this different technology. Because if I were coming from that perspective, I would look at this and think that it's all pretty much just a fad or it's all futile or something, you know? But it actually is very, very important. I mean, major companies are spending bazillions of dollars on social media marketing every single year. So could you share with us why is personal branding important?
Okay. Well, first let me kind of start by mentioning that there's certain words that in my mind are very interchangeable most of the time. I have a background in public relations and marketing, and so I can say this without bias, and that is that the two fields consider each other the stepchild. They're both under the communication umbrella, and they both generally seek to do the same thing. Public relations builds relationships. Mm-hmm. That's how they measure their success. And often you have to do a survey before your PR and after your PR to see how successful you were. With marketing, you can just see what the bottom line was. How much money did I make as a result of that building of a relationship, the ad campaign that I ran. Mm-hmm. But basically, they're building a tie between an entity and somebody who's in an external audience, essentially. And so when I use PR, marketing, communication, social media, a lot of these different things here, please in your mind kind of erase the loaded terms, the bias that our culture might have taught us, and think of them more generally as communication and representation between A and B. Mm-hmm. That kind of makes sense.
Okay. So unpack it.
Well, let's just say that perception is reality. When you're at Walmart and the big chunky football player hip chucks you on the corn aisle, he did that on purpose. He's just trying to strut his stuff. And that's the reality because I think so. Yeah?
Okay.
Now, it could have been on accident, or it could have been that he and his girlfriend were doing the salsa dance or something, and I didn't notice because it was in my own little world. But the way I perceived it, in my mind, is the way it is. That's how I experience it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So with public relations, your perception is your reality, and I'm trying to build the perception you have of me to what I want you to think.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes absolute sense, and it's something that I think some people sort of get intuitively, and some people don't. I've encountered a lot of people who feel like that, who sort of have the mantra that they want people to know them based off of the actual relationship, and they don't want to put up a facade, and they don't want to lie. But I mean, while that's great and everything, what it ends up conveying is that that person's kind of insignificant, or that person doesn't have anything really to say or contribute. I mean, one could argue that we're kind of in a in-your-face society or in-your-face sort of world today. So how do people who are not who are sort of naturally not inclined to be in your face, how do they sort of bridge that gap and sort of embrace this idea of personal branding for themselves?
Sure. I would say jump in very carefully, cautiously. Millennials have perfected the concept of the mini celebrity. You'll see now a lot of people, there'll be a girl in France who will take a picture of her outfit every single day, and she'll have how many thousand views on Pictogram or a YouTube video that she's making or whatever, or maybe an actor who's doing commercials in LA has a profile that's highly visited or whatever. Look at them and see what they're doing. Try to imitate them. Don't imitate them perfectly, but see what's working for them. What's the flow? Why are people responding? Are you responding to what they're posting? That's kind of the idea of the mini celebrity. And likewise, celebrities are personifying themselves. Kim Kardashian showing pictures of her baby tummy. She's showing herself maybe without makeup or having a fight with whoever it is she's dating at the moment. Celebrities want to be relatable, and likewise the people who may not have the celebrity status as far as Hollywood's concerned are trying to elevate it by looking like they have the posh lifestyle, like they're cooler than everybody else. Peer pressure, essentially. Okay? So in a world where you do not exist if you're not online, literally not a person if you are not stepping behind a computer screen being seen through it, you get to choose how you look.
Okay, and this is. Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say this is. This is extremely important because I think a lot of people sort of run away from this concept because they feel like they can't compete, or they feel like it's ethically wrong or dirty or something. But what you're saying is that there is a great responsibility inherent with personal branding and social media, and you can actually use that in a positive way. Okay.
Exactly. And I'm gonna things on my website, Kortnye.com, just in case you want to find it later or if you need to follow along. I won't talk about all of it, but I actually built it just for this podcast to help people along in their personal branding endeavors. And you can go to my website at Kortnye.com. It's spelled upside down and backwards, so you might need pencil and paper.
We'll make sure to put a lower third up after this is done so that people can have it for sure, have the actual address right on the screen, okay?
That'd be awesome.
So what are your top 3 tips for maintaining a world-class personal brand? So what you just said is you're empowering people to go ahead and go forward with this. You're telling them jump in. Well, what are your top 3 tips, for when they do jump in?
I'd say first of all, you need to bring your expert to the table. You already are a brand. Realize that. You are an expert in and of yourself. You've never seen the world the way somebody else has, and they've never seen it the way you have. And so the way the person at Walmart sees you, and the way your mom and dad see you, and the way the people at your work see you, that is your brand, because that is their perception of you, and that is their reality. And you're subjected to that reality. So find out what your brand is already.
How do you go about finding that out?
Ask people. Really, truly ask people. I didn't realize what my personal brand was until probably my sophomore year of college. And I started doing leadership classes, trying to decide what my leadership style was, identifying other people's styles. I took Gallup Strengths Finders, and I found out what my top 5 strengths or skills are. Everybody has something different. Know yourself. Know who you are. Know what you have to offer. Gallup was actually doing a survey, and they did a study with 2 groups of people. And the study basically was this. 2 groups of people, one who were excellent readers, and a second group of people who were poor readers, took the same speed reading course. The people who were poor readers got better, quicker, better comprehension. They got better. The people who were great readers became amazing. They were reading pages in 5, maybe 2 seconds, turning a page, because they were capitalizing on things that they were already good at. And so that's what I would encourage people to do for starters. Capitalize on the things that you're already good at. Find out from other people what they think your gifts are. Ask them. You could create a survey, a very short one. And it could be anonymous. Send it to people. Ask them to send it back. SurveyMonkey has free stuff up to 10 questions, I think. Have a heart-to-heart with a colleague or a mentor. Brainstorm on it. Write them down. Mull it over. Find out who you are.
Wow, that can be really scary, I think, for a lot of people, because I can just tell you from myself, my personal walk is that I would be probably horrified to actually ask someone, hey, what do you think my skills are? Because I guess I would feel like I'm putting myself out there, and I'm putting myself, sort of at the risk of someone saying something I might not like. But really, what we're doing here is it's the first step to realizing that you are a brand, and in order to take control of that, you really do have to investigate and find out, well, where am I currently?
Have you ever noticed that restaurants, anybody doing marketing, PR, customer service, they're always going to have, or most of them do at least, they have a place where you can leave a comment.
Yes.
We all love to know what we're doing well, and we need to be told it so we know to continue doing it. And we need to know what our weaknesses are as well. Now, I do say capitalize on the good stuff. that is what I truly believe. But don't feel like you're taking a risk by hearing something negative or hearing something that's a constructive critique. There's a difference between saying, I don't like this about you, and have you considered? It's a different approach. Don't be afraid of it, because you want to know what people think of you. These brands want to know how they can do better, how they can evolve, how they can serve you. That's the point. And you as your own brand, you want to know what you're doing well, how you can do it better. And maybe there's some things that you're doing that, let's just kind of...
Okay. Very, very well put, Kortnye. Very animated and well put. Okay, so talking about social media is very important. We already established that it pretty much is it's sort of interchangeable with what personal branding actually is. But for a lot of people, the tools for personal branding or branding in general may seem out of reach or expensive, but what we've just learned is that social media is really free and it's accessible to everyone. So what would be a tip of yours on how to embrace actually social media, like Facebook, like Twitter, LinkedIn? I mean, I know there's a lot out there, so let's just sort of stick with the most popular ones. And how would you encourage people to take advantage of those resources to begin the initial steps of, I guess, developing or enhancing their personal brand?
Sure. For me, where I'm comfortable on multiple platforms, I do have multiple social circles, if you will. I have Twitter, I have Facebook, I have 2 WordPress accounts, I have my website, I've got a YouTube.
Okay. Hello. Just a second, everybody. We're having a little bit of technical. Kortnye, hold on just a second. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. We just paused, so we're going to just take a moment as the stream catches up with us. And it looks like you're live. Kortnye, can you say hi?
Hey.
Okay, great. You're back. In the middle of what you were just saying, there was a sort of a lag or whatever. And so could you just pick up with your last thought and what you were saying about social media profiles and how you have multiple ones? And can you just sort of pick up right back from there, please?
Sure. Where I need to interact on multiple platforms to be involved with various circles of people, I have more than just a handful of social media profiles. But that's not the necessity for everybody. Pick something that works for you. If you want to make 8 to 12 updates a day, do Twitter. If you want to make 1 to 3 updates a day, you might like Facebook. There's a difference. And so look at the different sites, see what they have to offer. You know, if you're really wordy with your updates, you might do a WordPress or a blog post. There's so many different options, and you can pick something that fits you, fits your personal brand. I would make a suggestion, and that is whatever you do, do it really well. Some people feel like they have to spread themselves thin and do everything, and then they end up making an update on Facebook once every other week. They might tweet once a month, and you know, that doesn't actually do anything for your brand. It's kind of a waste of energy and time. And if you're looking for prospective jobs that, say, want an expert in tweeting, if they look at your personal Twitter page, they're going to wonder, how capable are you going to be for them if you yourself can't keep a personal page that's, you know, accruing fans and being meaningful to other people. So keep that in mind as well. Whatever you do, do a great job at it.
And that might be sort of the bottom line. I think if you really think about it, that whatever you do a great job at it, and don't pick something and do it if you really know that you really aren't going to be able to devote the necessary energy to really make that thing stand out. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Here's another. With public relations, it is 20% action equals 80% of perception.
Powerful.
So little of what I do is what you will believe about me. So you have to make it count. And we're in a very visual age. You look at all of these pages, and they're all visual. Twitter almost got the boot when Instagram and Pinterest came up because it was all pictures. Itty-bitty little description that might link to something more, but it was picture. And Twitter literally almost went down the tubes. Facebook just redesigned their page so that it'd be more focusing on the images. Yeah. It's all about the picture. It's all about your image. Your personal brand is no longer just a thought, but it's what people see in their head when they think of you.
Well, that's a great point. I'm just going to chime right in real quick and say, while you're sharing this thought, could you talk about the importance of the profile picture? Because everyone's got a profile picture on all these different sites, and so you're saying that this is incredibly important. So talk about that too. What about the profile picture?
The profile picture is you. We were talking about you don't exist if you're not online. The profile picture is the you version that's crawled behind the computer screen, slipped in between the disk drive, if you have one, and poof, on the screen. It is your avatar, your gravatar, your profile is you. This is not just a picture. This is your reputation.
Wow. So what should people... I mean, what mentality should people approach when making that profile picture? Because there's a lot of people. I mean, for example, I'm just going to give you an example. On Facebook, a lot of times people are posting profile pictures of themselves at the latest party or themselves at the latest, you know, whatever and they're thinking, hey, this is really cool for my friends and everything, but they might be forgetting the fact that, hey, if I were to Google you, you know, and let's say I'm a potential employer, and that photo comes up, how is that affecting my perception of who you are? And another point would be even on Twitter. You know, your photo on Twitter. I mean, how should that? Since Twitter is more rapid, and if someone's on Twitter all day, they're seeing you more often. You know, what kind of mentality would you encourage people to take, or when looking at how they should position their profile picture on something like Twitter or something like Facebook or even LinkedIn?
You know, there are two very different camps on that topic, and I can argue the point for either one of them. And one of them with branding is, this is who I am. I'm an individual, and you're going to appeal to a target audience that is drawn to you, who you are, who you announce. Another one is, I want my brand to go in this direction. This is how I want to be perceived. And so you tailor specifically to the needs, desires, and interests of people who you want to attract. Two very different camps. There are some people who've been fired from their jobs because of what they've seen on Facebook. People who haven't been hired for jobs because there were too many pictures of them drinking or smoking or whatever the case. I mean, the IRS even checks things on Facebook now, and if you were on vacation, or pardon me, if you were on a business trip during June 6th to June 9 and they see a picture of you on the beach in a bikini, June 6th to June 9, guess what? Your tax deduction isn't going to go through. It's make it or break it. It's hardcore, hard love. This is the way it is. We're snooping on you, and Big Brother's watching.
Unbelievable. So what's you just introduced this idea of Big Brother, and I think that's what some of the millennials are why they're sort of hesitant to embrace this new technology, because I mean really their privacy is a huge concern. So when you dive into social media, especially something like Facebook, you know, the reality is that Big Brother is watching you, and you're putting it out there, and it's so you've got to be mature, and you've got to be sensitive, and you have to think professionally about really everything that you put online in any of these networks about yourself. Would you agree with that?
I do agree. I do agree. Now, I do see the other camp, and I had the privilege about 6 months ago of having my hair cut by the creative director of L'Oreal London, or at least he was up until about a year or two ago.
Wow.
And awesome guy, professional, he's a family man, beautiful wife, 2 great kids, great people, and he has tattoos, all long kind of curly hair, kind of built, and you know, that profile picture might not work for you, for your brands. Him, where he's in the fashion industry, where he knows people like Cindy Crawford, Angelina Jolie, you know, it's a little bit different. You're part of maybe a rocker sort of culture or a fashion culture. It's a different niche market, so to speak. And so what works for your demographic, for your niche market, for your brand, might not work for mine. And that being said, maybe you have more than one brand.
Wow. Maybe you have more than one brand. That's... oh my God, my brain is being blown at the moment.
This. You've probably seen on TV the Dove, what is that campaign with beautiful girls or healthy girls? It talks about a healthy self-image and loving yourself.
Yeah.
You kind of get the picture. It's clear white background, and you've got this Dove bar of soap, and you're teaching girls, you know, things that uplift their spirits and help them love themselves. Blah blah blah. Very wholesome, very nice. Blah blah blah. Okay, so you jump over to Axe, you know, the body spray, and I know you remember because you're already laughing. Yeah. You remember the commercial where these women, Amazonian women, I'm on the beach, I'm on the prowl, I'm coming through the trees, and I'm chasing the guy because he's wearing Axe, and all the women stampede and almost beat him up because he's wearing the body spray, and it's all about the musk of man.
Yeah.
Now, what you don't know is both companies are owned by Unilever.
Get out! Okay, can you hear me? Are we good?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, so you're saying both companies are owned by...
Unilever.
Unreal.
Absolutely. And Unilever now owns Catwalk and S Factor and Bedhead hair products, and those are all owned by TG, which is now a product line in and of itself, an umbrella company that was bought out by Unilever. So perhaps you have more than one skill set to offer. Perhaps you can cater to more than one demographic by custom tailoring what you have to offer, and perhaps you've gotten to the place where you need to package those for different groups of people.
Wow. I'm going to tell you right now, Kortnye, that I think that is something that we're finally discovering here at Blue Artists. And for a really long time, we've had just a particular focus on filmmaking and, you know, and just telling great stories and inspiring people through video. And we sort of built our brand completely around that. But over the last couple of years, we were just getting so many requests to do other kinds of things, like print work and other sort of design projects, and we didn't want to take those projects because we felt that they were sort of not congruent with our with how we saw ourselves, our branding. But other people saw us in such a creative light that they wanted us to do these other types of projects, but we didn't want to go that route. But we've been talking about it, and what you say right now, that you might actually have more than one brand in you is really profound, because that's what we're discovering. We're discovering, wait a second, there's an audience there that wants us to appeal to their particular needs, and we can actually develop another brand that still has the same core values and the same, but just approaches it in a different way that's still honest to us, while also meeting this different segment of the market's needs. And I really thank you for bringing that out. I want to ask you, for your clients, everything you shared is real. I find it to be very profound, and I want to know, how do you help your clients through this process? How do you help them improve their own personal brand or their business brand? If I were to sum it up into one question, it's, what is the step-by-step process that you take with a client to help them to think this way and unlock this potential and really, get their brand where it needs to be?
I guess I would, just so that I kind of know where we're looking at, is this somebody who has already started and they're wanting to improve their brand? Do they know nothing and they're starting from scratch? Kind of paint just slightly this little scenario, sort of.
Okay, so let's say this is, well, let's just make it easy for most people. Let's say this person is a musician. Okay. And for years they have been creating music and producing music, and their stuff has been on iTunes and everything, but they really haven't had the team behind them to be able to get their brand to a level where, like you said, you are what did you say? You said that you are how people perceive you, or no, you are what you said, something about what you show people is what you are. Basically.
Perception is reality,
That's
and 20%
yes.
of what you do is 80% of what they'll think about you.
Yes. So they don't have a team to help them to create that perception for their potential consumer or audience to sort of empower that reality that they want, so that their consumer can patronize them, et cetera, et cetera. So so let's say that particular artist, is saying, you know what, I'm ready to take my career to the next level. I am at that point. I am ready to do what I've got to do and work with the people I've got to work with to get my brand, to get that perception of the way that I want to be perceived into the minds of the potential consumer, so that their reality of me could be something that will inspire them to be my audience and patronize me, etc. So for that individual, they're coming to you. This is their first time down this road. How do you work with that individual to improve their brand?
I think part of it depends on what their preference is on approach. Like I said, you can either expand on the brand you already have, the perception that people already have of you. You might already know what that is. You might have to do a little asking, or have somebody like me come in and assist you with finding what it is. But you already have a brand, and you can either capitalize on that, or you can choose where you want your brand to be. You told me a few years back something I will never forget, and I have quoted you over and over and over again on this, and thank you. It was a meaningful moment for me. What you said was, you are what you choose to be the moment you decide to become. You are, right now, what you choose to be in this moment, because you have decided to become, okay? And so if in your mind you say, I don't like my brand, this is what I choose to be. At this moment, I am a star guitar performer. Then you are. It might take time for other people to see it, but you've chosen, and therefore you are. So you have those two platforms to check in with. Pink, when she first started, people said, no, you shouldn't sing that kind of a song. You shouldn't have that kind of a public profile. And so she did what was popular in pop culture in the 90s, early 2000s, and now she's doing her own thing, and people actually applaud her for being her own person. And that's what's trending right now, being your own person, having individuality. And I dare say, camps, you will have something unbeatable Be yourself, bring yourself, because you can't be anybody else. And you also need to capitalize on other people as well, helping them, bringing out the best in them, serving them. So the two camps need to meet in the middle. Does
And
that make
you
sense?
kind of, yeah, it does. So you kind of sort of facilitate that process, right?
Exactly, exactly. And what I would do is, after we had a discussion on either where we want to go based on who you already are or where you would like to be, we would come up with visuals. We talked about earlier how Twitter almost went down the tubes because of Instagram and Pinterest, and Facebook did all of this redesigning on their pages. Visuals are so important. As a matter of fact, something taking over right now, the sidebar, are these infograms. These pictograms. They have different words for them, but they tell a story with pictures. We want it now. We want appearance. We want to be able to look and know. And so when people see your picture, that's what I would start with. I would set up a photo shoot or set up a meeting with a designer and have them create a caricature of you or a symbol of you, however you want to be noticed. Your brand, do you want to be known as the face of your brand, whatever. And let's come up with a look and a style that sets for you on a regular basis.
So something that is honest to who you are in your heart, in your soul, but also something that really meets the needs of the potential audience that you want to go after.
Exactly.
Okay. So a question that just came in, and I'm looking at the moment, is okay. Social media has changed how many receive information. So as a public relations specialist, how have you evolved your service to meet your clients' needs? Okay, so the person is asking about whether or not social media, the fact that it has changed sort of what public relations is. And you said that was one of the first things that you said. So as opposed to just putting out press releases and, I guess acting from more of that corporate level or perspective, how do you actually use social media to meet the needs of this let's say this particular client in the example that we gave? How would you like build that person's brand more? So I guess just sort of build off what you were already saying.
Okay. Well, let's kind of go down a list of suggestions or ideas, things that I try to do personally. And granted, I can do more of them, so we're all learning together. What I've done with my profiles is I'd set up a photo shoot in Chicago, and I'd done a handful of different looks. There was a black pea coat, there was a flowy dress, whatever. I picked the set of pictures that I liked the best from one look, and there were different expressions, different backgrounds, but in general it was all natural lighting, all outdoors, same outfit, hair, makeup, same look. And I've used images that I like from that look all across my social websites. That is my platform. Rather than being just a one-look, one-stop shop, I don't have one profile picture. I have multiple profile pictures that look similar. So that's something that I really recommend. Now, some people, they have a caricature that's been specially made for them. That's their one thing, and that's cool, because it's almost like a logo for them, and that you should use consistently. That's a little bit different. Now, moving on from that, we've talked about visuals, and that is where communication is at. Even news sources have started making the pictograms and using those as actual news reports, because people don't want to read, they want to glance and be entertained, get it quickly, and feel pretty while doing it. So, there are different apps that you can use. There's something called, what is it called? Cell phone to the rescue. Cap, that is one of them. Cap, C-A-P, and it's an app you can download. You can upload a picture to it.
Hey, Kortnye, is this on your website as a resource?
I don't have capped that in the resource bucket, but we've talked about on the website or in the Pinterest resource bucket that is available through my website at Kortnye.com. You can also find it at Kortnye PR, like public relations. And if you guys will tweet me or Facebook me, I'll go ahead and upload other things that we've discussed that I haven't already included, or any suggestions on things that you think would be helpful to other people.
Okay, fantastic. And when this finishes, when this finishes, we're gonna have a link on if you're catching this on the blog or on our Blue Artists Live, you'll be able to see a link to Kortnye's website, so you can take advantage of all those great resources that she has put together, and really not just the resources, but little tips and advice from Kortnye. And if you have any questions for Kortnye directly, her contact information, as well as being right here on the live cast, we'll also sort of reiterate that in the same blog post if you're interested and if that's where you're getting your information. Okay, so we're going to make sure that you guys have a way to get in contact with Kortnye, because I know you're going to want to get in contact with her because she's got so much insight to share on this. So I want to bring it back now to this whole idea of the profile picture and how you can have multiple profile pictures. And I want to share a little about what we're doing at Blue Artists and how I'm actually taking your advice right now. I have a profile picture that I use on I think it's my LinkedIn, okay, and it's a very professional picture. And then I have another, on my Twitter, I don't use my profile, that picture. I actually use the logo of the brand Blue Artists on the Twitter. And the reasoning behind that is that there's something, Blue Artists itself is sort of what I would perceive to be the larger brand of the business that we're a part of. But okay, so what am I saying? So on Twitter, I want people to engage with me from the perspective of, this is Blue Artists, and this is what Blue Artists is, tweeting out. And every now and again, we have different producers who are actually tweeting through that profile. But then on my LinkedIn, this is Pierre. This is me. This is my stuff. So you can see me and engage with me that way. And so I'm sort of applying what you're talking about. So what do you think about that? How are we doing here at Blue Artists? Give me a little sort of a checkup on what's going on, and from your perspective, how we can improve.
Pierre, I think that's brilliant. I really, truly do. You hit it on the head when you said that Blue Artists is a larger brand. Blue Artists is a brand that has to do with Greener by the Day, other documentaries. It has to do with the Gospel Music Awards, possibly, as was the case in 2010 in Blue Artists. Blue Artists is so many different venues where you guys touch the lives of many, many people, and also employ a handful of people other than yourself. That Blue Artists is Blue Artists. Now, Pierre Walters, senior producer of Blue Artists, is certainly contributing to the Blue Artists brand. And so I think it's really neat how you consider yourself a walking, living, breathing brand as a person, and part of your brand does coincide with Blue Artists. It's perfect.
So when we started this particular live cast, I said that we have to take great care with our personal brand, because when we come together and work on sort of a larger brand, like in our case, that would be Blue Artists, it also is sort of like the sum of its parts, I guess. And so if we're not taking care of our personal brand, that can have perhaps a negative influence or can affect the larger brand in an adverse way as well. So would you what kind of advice would you give to people who might be part of a larger organization? I can just give you an example. I'm a gamer. I love playing video games. I can't play it all the time because it's very time consuming and very expensive. But when I get around to it, I do. And recently, Microsoft has just announced a brand new product, a console that they're going to be coming out with. And it was just this fantastic reveal. But then several of the individual employees then tweeted different answers to a variety of different questions from the journalists, and those answers were in contradiction to what other Microsoft employees were sharing to the public. So the problem here is that while the overall company was saying one thing in particular, individual pieces of that company manifested in the different employees were actually saying something very, very different. And I think some of the people actually lost their jobs as a result of the message that they were communicating through social media that wasn't consistent with the larger organization. So what kind of advice could you give to people who want to understand how their personal brand affects the larger brand they're a part of, and how they can be an asset as opposed to a liability?
That's a great question. I think it partly depends on if your brand is actively linked with or encouraged to be linked with the bigger brand. If you were not so intimately associated with Blue Artists as a force, a blood flow behind who Blue Artists is, you would just be Pierre Walters, walking down the street, jogging in the morning, whatever the case is, doing your thing, and you'd go to work and you'd handle films and deal with divas all day and edit stuff and go home. True?
Yeah, very well put. You pretty much capped it right there in a bottle.
So that's one thing. Some people who work for Microsoft in this case, or as in Indianapolis, we have Eli Lilly. It's a large company and does, Prozac and I think Viagra and a few other well-known brands. Here in town, I meet a lot of people who say, oh yeah, I work for Eli Lilly. And so essentially that's where the buck stops. It's, okay, Eli Lilly employs a lot of people in town, end of story. They're associate with it. Now, if they were either encouraged to lend to the brand or if they chose to try to connect with the brand, they would. And from a PR standpoint, in a corporate setting, it's really important to educate people. When you're dealing with PR, talk to so-and-so. If there's been a crisis and the hospital burned to the ground, tell all the employees. When the news crews come or show up on your front step to interview you or at your child's school to ask about mommy's job, tell everybody, talk to Bill. He's the president of such and such hospital. Talk to Bill. What's the answer? Talk to Bill. Talk to Bill. Point to the same source. Very clear communication every time. It takes a lot of educating. And when you're talking about connecting people to a brand, if they're not taught to talk to Bill, so to speak, and they're either trying to actively contribute to it or if they've been encouraged to, then things get a little bit stickier. And so in general, I recommend delegate certain people who have the role of contributing to your brand. Things get messy, and of course, like you talked about, people have unfortunately lost their jobs in the past for speaking negatively about certain topics that the larger brand may not agree with or doesn't appreciate.
Wow. So really, I mean, you have to take a special amount of care with that kind of thing, and keep in mind that if you are a part of an organization that your personal, who you are bears influence, that you got to really be careful and make sure that the way that you're using social media is in a positive way that's not just in your little bubble, because really anything you put on the internet is on the internet. And so yeah, go ahead, dive into that.
Let's think of it this way. Here's two examples. About 2 years ago, Cinnabon and Pillsbury got together, and they had Pillsbury cinnamon rolls with Cinnabon cinnamon. Oh, that is a tongue twister, and I said it. All right. So they came together and they advertised this. You saw the commercials on TV, little Cinnabon logo, and you saw the woohoo! Okay, those two companies got together, same for the packaging. They came together, and they brought audiences with each other. It was done on purpose. Their people talked to their people, and they got together their messages, what they wanted out of it, how they were going to give it to each other. Very probably sterile negotiation to a certain degree, on paper, black and white. Now, go back maybe 2 weeks ago, and on my WordPress blog, I interviewed a friend of mine who's an expert in search engine optimization. I asked for her opinion on certain things, her suggestions, and I asked her permission multiple times as she proofread what I wrote about her if I could publish it. Is this worded for something that would benefit your brand? When people Google your name and find this on my site, is this how you want to be seen? And so if you're associating with another brand, do just be considerate of them. If you're going to blog about Microsoft and how much you love your job or this new product that you're working on or a launch of something coming out real soon, I would call up your customer service rep, whoever it is, and just say, hey, I'm so thrilled to work with you. You guys make my world go round. This is what I'd like to post. May I please have your permission?
Wow, and certainly it's not worth losing your job or your whatever it is, whatever your position because of just a moment of lack of discretion or something like that. So your advice is absolutely warranted, and hopefully more and more people will do that, especially if they are part of large organizations and want to comment about what those particular organizations are doing. Okay, but I'm going to bring it now back to personal branding, and as our time winds down, I want to sort of wrap this up by asking you just an overall sort of summary. What made you fall in love with personal branding and in public relations? What just makes your heart sing about all this? And what do you want to say to the people out there that might be looking for someone just like you to help them with their personal brand or their business brand? What do you want to say to those people that hopefully can point them in the right direction, i.e. www.kortnyepr.com. I mean, Kortnye.com.
I love you, Pierre. Oh, Philly. I think one of my greatest joys is seeing the best in people. I like to see the potential. I like to see where they could be or would be if it was cultivated or mentored, or 10 years down the road with the right nurture and nature all put in together. And, I'd like to think that I have a slightly higher emotional intelligence where I can see where their heart's coming from, what skill sets they have, and bring it out in them. And so that's what I love about PR and branding, is it gives me an opportunity to help bring out the best in the people I work with. And that's what I've coined myself on. I bring out the best in you. And so whatever your brand is, I'd say make sure that it doesn't go against who you are. Make sure that it does literally bring out the best in what you have to offer. Because you do. You have something unique to offer, just like everybody else. But yours is unique. And it won't be offered the same way as somebody else's. You can Google me, of course, and find me on Kortnye.com, Kortnye.com. Check out the personal branding part. You can visit the resource bucket, of course, and it's used as a Pinterest board. Share away, make suggestions, ask me for things that you might like to learn a little bit more about. I'm here to help because, like I said, my joy is bringing out the best in you.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So you heard it from Kortnye. You heard it from someone that I really, really personally respect. I want to let everybody know, that I really do vouch for Kortnye, and you can go directly to her site. You can engage with her. You can request her services for your brand and your personal brand and your business. And also, if you're coming to Blue Artists and you're interested in brand building, as we like to call it, we've got this fantastic 3-core strategy where we do try to tackle the social media aspect, a fantastic promotional video, as well as making sure that your web presence is really where it needs to be, something that can compete with your competitors and really shine in your market. And so with those 3 things together, we've got a fantastic strategy, and I want you to know that Kortnye is a major tool set of ours, and that if you're interested in sort of large brand building, we've got you covered, and Kortnye is a very hands-on person. And if you want to engage with her directly, you can also just go straight to her website and learn from her and get her on your team. So I want everybody to know that a lot of the stuff that we're doing here at Blue Artists as far as branding, I mean, it's new for a lot of us. It's kind of something, there's no real manual on it. It's kind of like there's everyone has a different opinion, and everyone has a variety of different ways of going about doing this kind of thing. But we really try. We really do try to dive in, just like Kortnye said, and just sort of take the bull by the horns and figure out what works, what doesn't work, and how can we better communicate with our audience. And that's the whole point of these live casts. And so Kortnye is on today's show. Kortnye, I think, has just dumped a huge load of information on us, which I think is fantastic. And my metaphors. Just anyway, I think it's a fantastic live cast session with you, Kortnye. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And
thank you.
You have any last words for everybody before we go?
Any last words? 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 Since appearance matters, let the inside of you show on your outside. And if you do need a little bit of extra help with social media, go to hootsuite.com. It'll handle your different platforms, Twitter accounts, Facebook feeds, things along those lines. If you're crazy like me and have more than one place and you need to, get a little bit of TLC to help you out with it. But at the end of the day, let your inside show on your outside, and you'll be in good shape.
Very good. Now, that was hootsuite.com. Is that on your website as a resource?
I'm going to add it.
Okay, fantastic.
Just for you.
Fantastic, very cool. All right, everyone. Again, as always, my name is Pierre Walters, and this has been the Blue Artists LiveCast. If you have additional questions or concerns about the show, or if you have, an idea that you would like for us to talk about, please send me a tweet at Blue Artists. You can shoot me an email, pierre@blue-artist.com. Visit the website, blue-artist.com. Sign up for the monthly newsletter. Be a part of this thing. Subscribe to us on iTunes. If you can't watch this thing on YouTube, get it in your iTunes on your phone if you have an iPhone and all that. Okay, so just be a part of the conversation, guys. We just have a fantastic time, and who knows, maybe we'll have you on the next livecast. Okay, so thanks again, Kortnye, and we're gonna sign out right now. If you like what you see and you want to be a part of our ongoing conversation, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you haven't already, please visit our daily blog at www.blue-artists.com.